Thank you for joining us on the New Bridge Radio Show. You can also catch us online at newbridgeradio.com. Find us on Facebook under New Bridge Radio Show or follow us on Twitter at New Bridge Radio. Now let's connect you with what's next.
Welcome back to the New Bridge Radio Show on WLTK-DB. Let's talk. I am your host, Kevin Mackey, and we are connecting you to what's next in your life. And we're here to remind you that you are important to this world. And we sure are glad to have you along on this episode of the New Bridge Radio Show. Now, if you would like to get in touch with the New Bridge Radio Show, you can always email us. Our email address is thenewbridgeradioshow@gmail.com. We love to hear from you, and we love to connect to people who have figured out what was next in their life. So please drop us a line and let us know you would like to be a guest on our show, because we would love to hear your story. And we would love to broadcast your story on the radio, because you never know who you could help just by telling your story and how you connected. You never know who you could help. Also, if you would like to set up a distant Reiki session or an intuitive reading with myself, you can do so on my website. My website is www.limestreetwellness.com. You can just click the book online now in the upper right-hand corner, and you can see all my available appointments. If you use the promo code BRIDGE, you'll get 15% off of a reading or a Reiki session. Also, there are just a few more QHHT intern sessions. So if you're in the Seattle area and you're curious about QHHT and you would like to schedule one of those sessions, feel free to drop by my website and go ahead and schedule one. You have to be in the Seattle area because these sessions have to be done in person. So feel free. They only happen on Sunday. And that's really the only time I have available to do them. So they start Sunday at 11 in Linwood, Washington, actually is where they would start. And if you're curious about Dolores Cannon or quantum healing hypnosis, feel free to go to my website and schedule a QHHT session. So tonight, we are in for a treat. We have a special guest on the New Bridge Radio Show. She has a very successful YouTube channel, and she is probably one of the most unique psychic readers I've ever come across. She is extremely accurate, and she does have a great way of calming people and guiding people in a way that is infused with so much compassion. And it's only recently I came across her, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, this! I would love to have this person on my radio show." She is, you'll know her on YouTube as the Queen of Cups, the Water Bendita, and we are so excited to have her on the New Bridge Radio Show. Welcome, Cassandra. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me. I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I am wonderful. Hey, are you calling in from New York tonight?
I'm actually in Colorado. I'm originally from New York, but we moved to Colorado 5 years ago.
Oh, nice. You know, I didn't realize this. You know, that is my home state.
Yes. Do you miss it?
You know, there are, you know what people probably don't know about Colorado is Colorado has a lot of sun. And you know, people think, oh, it snows a lot in Colorado, but it really, there's almost 330 days of sunshine in Colorado. So that I do miss, because in the Pacific Northwest, you know, we don't have that sunshine all the time.
Yes, it is very sunny.
What city are you in Colorado?
I'm in Fort Collins.
Oh my God, that's my stomping ground. So I'm, you know what? I am from Greeley, Colorado. I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah, I've been down to Greeley.
That's funny. People, Greeley. People from Colorado. Okay. And you're admitting you're from there?
I like Greeley.
Yes, Greeley, is where I spent most of my time, and I still have family there in Greeley, and my little cousin is going to UNC. So I,
Okay.
I'm I am so thrilled to have you in, because you are probably one of the most unique psychics that I've ever seen. For one, you are extremely accurate in a lot of your readings, and what drew me to you is when I saw you on Maria's channel is you just have such a compassionate energy to you as well. I was like, oh wow, this is one of the best psychic readings I've ever seen, and you do something, and people can see this now on your show. You do Taza cup readings, and I got to tell you, I have watched a ton of them throughout this.
Thank you.
You know what? Yeah, I am always so fascinated about how you do this and how you see the things. Just tell us a little bit about how you do these readings and how you got started.
Well, first, thank you. You're making me very emotional because just that you appreciate the taza, it is to me unbelievable. In my culture, this is something a lot of people, don't really talk about or take in as something to have pride in. And my grandmother was the original one that read the taza in my family, and she showed my mom and my aunts, and a lot of my cousins know how to read it too.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you have me on your show, a very important radio station, and on your show, I'm really humbled and honored to be here. And I'm very, very touched that you appreciate the taza. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, you're absolutely welcome. It is absolutely fascinating and very helpful.
Thank you. So, I mean, this is the tradition. This is how I grew up. My grandma, she's my great grandmother. My mom was an orphan at 14 and was raised by my grandmother. And she's the only one I knew. So she started this, but my mom, my grandmother has since passed away, but my mom to me is the best Taza reader walking this earth. And it's something that we do. I think it's a mixture of African and Spaniard culture, the
Mm-hmm.
Muslim culture mixed in with the African culture and the European culture.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a mixture of tea leaves and coffee grounds kind of reading.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know exactly how it came to be. We didn't really write everything down in my culture. I think we were not very good bookkeepers or record keepers. It was more the word of mouth sort of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
passed down traditionally. So I don't exactly know how it came to be.
Mm-hmm.
But since I've started the channel, I've had people reach me from all over, from Iran, from Morocco, from different parts of Africa, from even Ireland. And they're like,
Wow.
my grandmother did something very similar. This is how they did it. And it's been a lifeline, I guess, when you're marginalized and you're poor and you don't have many rights. Your faith in God
Mm-hmm.
is very important, and it kind of keeps you afloat. And this is a way of getting like messages to keep you going, to keep you positive.
Mm-hmm.
Today might be a bad day, but you read the taza and you see that what you read came true, then you have this faith in it that things are going to get better.
Exactly. So you mentioned it came down from your grandmother to your mother. So is your family very psychic, very connected?
I think the line of my mom, yes, I think so. My dad's family, not so much.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think my mom's family, yes. Her grandmother, her mother was very religious, so she did not take up the taza. But like I said, since my mom was raised by her grandmother, unfortunately, her mom passed away. I think my mom picked this up, and she's also very psychic. She dreams things, and she's just a very psychic person. And I think it's also part of it because not everyone in my family can read it. From my
Mm-hmm.
generation, I'm the only one now.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about how you go through this process, how you create the cups, because I know you do a little, like you do in the beginning of your videos, you show the how you make the coffee that does the pattern in the cup, and it's, to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest. So tell us a little bit about how you do this.
Okay, so it's I do a lot of political readings on my channel.
Mm-hmm.
So that the way I make that, it's a little different than the way I make a personal cup. So let's say I'm making a cup for myself, or you're making a cup for me to read.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of what I used. So I make the coffee here. You put a little bit of water in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put the coffee in this part.
Mm-hmm.
You fill it up to the brim. And once, it has to be espresso coffee. It cannot be regular coffee. It cannot be drip coffee. It has to be very dark coffee because it needs to make the imprints here.
Right. So it can't be Folgers.
It cannot be Folgers, unfortunately. You probably have to grind your beans, or not use a Bustelo or Aroma, those, Caribbean coffees, or Italian coffee is very good for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put, after the coffee is done, you put in a little bit of sugar. You set it aside, put in a little bit of sugar, and you pour a little bit in a cup like this. It has to have a handle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll explain to you why it has to have a handle. But you put in a little bit of that coffee with sugar, just a bit, and you swirl it around, and then you take a sip. You put it in your mouth and you take a sip of the coffee. If it's for you, a personal reading, then you go like this and you put it over the stove and you hold it until it sets. And then once it sets this way. And I read it for you.
Right. And so when you start looking at the cup, are you seeing everything that in your third eye as well as what's in the cup? Like trying to understand what so I'm noticing the cup, the red cup that you have there, and there's these lines, and then there's the center. Can you tell us a little bit about how this tells the story? Like, does it go clockwise?
Exactly. So this is the handle, 12 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1, 2, like that, 6, 9, 12 again.
Mm-hmm.
So what is coming up here will be happening the soonest, and then you read it like a clock. The middle has information, and the bottom has another set of information.
Nice. Now, I've always, when I look at your videos and I try to kind of pick up, and I'm like, oh, I want to learn how to do this when I'm watching. So sometimes there's profound messages in the middle of the cup.
Yes.
So what is that area usually? Is that usually like kind of the heart of the reading?
Wow, you ask really good questions. It's actually not that easy to read. So I have to make sure I'm completely alone in my room when I'm reading it. It's very quiet. I have nothing pending. I don't have bills to pay. I don't have, to call anyone. I'm very calm, because it's very, I think the way to read it is through just interpretation. Like you go to a museum and you see a painting or you see an artwork. You look at it. You're not worried about, so-and-so is doing this, so-and-so is doing that. You have to go here, there. So it's like art. It's like a picture to me. It's interpreting an art, a piece of art. So this here represents the reality, your everyday, the ground you walk on. The top represents more of things that you want, or things that are coming your way, like money or documents or pictures, things like that. Then in the middle, now the middle and the bottom don't always come up in the taza. In the middle, sometimes you see people that have passed away of the person you're reading for. Dead relative, a message from a dead relative. I've read for people, and I've actually seen that someone in their family that has passed away, I saw like half of their body was buried somewhere, and half of their body was buried somewhere else. And they told me that the person was cremated, and half of the ashes were put next to their mother in the cemetery, and they had half of that person's ashes with them, the dad's ashes with them. Also messages from the dead person. Like I've seen people guarding, for example, when I do my taza, I see my dad guarding me. I see my brothers. I have 2 brothers that passed away and my father, and they come up guarding me.
Oh,
If I
nice.
have an issue, they come up right here guarding me, taking care of me. And then at the bottom is, it's also could be something from someone that has passed away, maybe, but it's more like a material message. So let's say they've passed over, and let's say you want to know where they left a piece of jewelry. It will come up at the bottom sometimes. This piece of jewelry is here in this area of your house, or it's somewhere like that. Or a message. I've read for people and I've said, you have a rose bush in your backyard with something that has passed away, or someone that has passed away, and they'll tell me, yeah, that's where my dog is buried. I buried my dog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
People are very emotional about their pets.
Yes, I am.
Me too. It's harder to lose a pet than it is to lose a person sometimes.
It's hard.
Yes, it does.
They're so innocent.
Yes. So when I was looking at the cup you have there now, what I always find as I'm watching you read the cup, I'm always interested how you how you see people in there, because I will pause the video and look and say, wait, how does she see? Like, you can tell if it's a man or a woman, and I keep pausing. I'm like, how does she tell it's a man or
I'm so used to it that I'm like, how do you not tell it's a man or a woman?
well, right.
Like, this is a child here.
Yeah. Now I've got young people and children down when I'm looking at, like, if I'm looking at the cup, I'm like, okay, that's a child. That next to the child might be someone sleeping.
Yeah, that is someone that has passed away, actually.
Or passed away.
Yeah.
And then the bigger the child is there next to a bigger person. But looking at those 2 lines, those are people. And are the lines always people?
If to me, if the line is too, that's tricky. That's another good question. So it depends how big the line is, and you can tell if it's a body. And sometimes if it's a small structure, let's say like a silo or a small little house or a shed, sometimes you can confuse that with a person. But you keep looking at it, concentrate, and then you'll see it's too perfect. It's too it's not like a person has curves, or their head, the neck, there's a break in there, then there's a break in the lower back and a break in their knees. So you don't see that when it's a structure. When it's a structure, it's very just perfect, very lined. Whereas a person, you see imperfections, not imperfections, but you see curves, and you see the neck, you can see the knees, you can see the lower back.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm watching you. So I was watching a video of you doing a reading on Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine.
Yes.
And there's a part in that cup where he is holding a child. You can tell this from this line that you're showing that was in the cup, and you're like, this.
That has not happened yet, but they're going to win the war. And when he wins the war, he's going to go up on stage. And this came out of my cup before they were even at war with Russia. And I couldn't believe it. I felt really upset, because I'm like, I'm giving people false hope. How's Ukraine ever going to win? But I'm going to stick to my taza. I see him holding a child on his neck. Like when you're in a concert, you hold the kid up on your shoulders, kind of like that's what I saw with him.
Why I think they're going to win?
Yeah.
There was this, before, like 2 days or so before Russia invaded Ukraine, there was this moment. I don't know what city it was. I kind of think it was Kyiv. Somebody had their window open, and they were playing a violin of the Ukrainian national anthem. And they captured it on video. So there's a couple sitting in a car, and there's this beautiful violin music playing the national anthem for Ukraine, and all of a sudden, like this whole city block is singing the national anthem in Ukraine, and everybody's crying. Everybody is, set for war. And when I saw that video, that moment, I kind of had an intuitive hit. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think they're gonna win. Like, they're gonna win, or they're gonna give Russia
A run, right?
a run for their money, because the 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 feeling I got when I saw that, when I felt the music, I was like, oh my gosh, these people have so much community. Uh, community, like they're ready to go. They are
Yes.
united. And it's interesting how when people are, and I'm sorry to get on
No, please.
it's interesting how when people um coalesce like that into a community, it brings a huge amount of spiritual strength, I think, and synchronicity, and like miracles can happen when a group of people is that committed, that connected in it.
I
So
agree. I
yes,
agree.
yes. It can do, like, that's how humans really live.
Hmm. Exactly.
Yes. So when you were doing that reading on Zelensky, and I saw the kid, that he was holding up, that you were talking about him holding up the kids, I am like, yeah, I can kind of see it, but I couldn't really see it in the cop like you can. But I'm like, I think she's absolutely right about this, that they will win. And uh, what I found interesting also is, when you were reading that cup, you could tell when Kiev was going to be invaded, and all of that information
Yeah,
was in the cup for you. I was like,
I told everyone. It's hard doing these readings because you don't want to scare people, but
right.
you also, if the message is, oh, full destruction, why bother, right? But what I saw was them being attacked, but in the end winning.
Hmm.
So I wanted to prepare people and be like, how, even Zelensky saying Russia's not going to attack, and Russia saying that they're not going to attack. They will attack. They're going to go to war.
Hmm.
Yes, you're right. I did see that missile hitting Kyiv.
Yeah. And when you pointed it out in the cup, you're like, yeah, that's where it was. It was right
You
there.
saw it, right?
Yeah, I saw it in the cup, and I saw the tanks.
Yes, clear as day.
I'm like,
Clear as
she's right.
day.
She's right. And when I went back and looked at when you did the read, I'm like, wow, she is right on all of this stuff. Now, you uh, so when you do these for people, um, does it kind of, so I've been doing psychic readings for professionally for a year now, and I don't like when people start asking questions right away. I like just telling them what I see first.
Mhm.
When you do this reading, is it kind of the same thing? You look at this and you kind of say, like, sometimes when people have really, really good cards, like I read the tarot, I just hyper myself into a frenzy.
Yeah, yes. It's
Like,
very an emotional
yeah.
work.
Oh, it
You
really
get
is.
you get completely enthralled, and it becomes their reading becomes your reading. You're cheering for them just the
Hmm.
same way you would cheer for yourself or for a loved one. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm. And so now, do you kind of have a room where you kind of preserve all these cups? Because I know sometimes
I wash them off.
oh, okay.
I use the same cups over and over, and I wash them.
I know you sometimes keep cups of readings that
Yes,
happened in the past.
I keep. What's that?
I
Sorry.
know you keep cups of readings you've done in the past, so you can look back at them.
For a little while, yeah, but I eventually wash them off because I'm still learning too. And everything I see, I'm not 100% sure about everything I see,
Mm-hmm.
but pretty accurate though. I gotta say, but I keep them just so I can keep looking at them, just in case it's something changes or I didn't understand completely. But So far, so good. But I still, I'm my I'm my what is it, worst critic?
Mhm. Well, every reader is that way though.
Yeah, that's true.
I always tell people, I don't get to be right about everything, but I wish I could be.
Hmm.
So, and I think that's every one of us has to deal with that at some point. So, how old were you when you started learning the Taza?
I can't even remember. I've always seen them around my whole life.
Hmm.
I've always seen my family read them.
Hmm.
Um, I gotta say, it's just part of my life.
Yeah. Oh,
um,
oh,
when I was about 5, I think was when my grandma really like would sit me down and make me look at them. As she really respected me. A lot of times they'll say, "Kids, go away," when they're reading, but I think I was just so into it, and I could see at that very young age that she picked up on it, and she really encouraged it.
uh, so now that must have been something, having someone there that was encouraging this. I do, like you, my mother's side of the family is they're, they all have the psychic ability, and like my mother included, she'll deny it until she departs the earth that she has any kind of psychic ability.
Oh.
But there, what is interesting about it is sometimes I will pick up the phone, even my cell phone. But when we had landlines, I will pick up my phone to call her, and the phone won't ring or anything, and she is on the phone because she dialed and called me at the same time.
She's acutely in tuned,
Yes, she is, and I'm
but
like,
in
oh,
denial.
right. I and an unfortunate incident happened a couple of years ago where there was a mass shooting in Seattle, and it was just a
Sorry.
couple of blocks from the bus, and a bunch of us ran into the securities building in Seattle because there's just mass shooting.
I'm
And
so sorry.
yeah, yeah, it was the strangest day. There was such a strange energy, and we're all hiding. And you know who called me? My mom.
She knew.
She's like, "Where are you?"
She
I'm like,
knew.
"Yeah, yep." She knew. She knew there was something going on, and she called, but she had nothing to do with being psychic or anything like that. So, one thing that I find that you do, you take a great deal of time understanding everything that the cup is telling you. And what I noticed a lot in your videos is sometimes it's the information is almost overwhelming.
It is. So usually, so by the time I do the video, I've already read it over and over again.
Mhm.
You know, by the time I do the video, I'm already calm because sometimes I get like hyper. Like the first time I see it, I'm like, oh no, oh, like overly. I got to calm myself down. I got to go get
Mhm.
some chamomile tea while I read this. And so it's that sort of thing. So by the time I made the video, also prayers help me understand.
Right.
I think that's intricate. I would not be able to read the Taza without the prayers. So yeah, it is. It's exciting. It's like I'm watching a movie. It's to me, it's better than a movie, better than a series.
It really is. Always as I'm watching you read the cup, I'm like, oh wow, she just sees everything. She sees buildings and you, you know what? The one that windows, like you'll see buildings with windows.
Hmm.
And what's so funny is I pause those videos. Right. I'm like, I've got to get the video where I can see the cup so I can see the windows.
You see them though, right? You see like it's lighter than the rest.
Yeah. You know what? I get to the point where I think I see him. I'm like, oh, that's what she's talking about.
Hmm.
That is where she's seeing the windows. Sometimes I can see
Example,
the
right
things.
there's a window, right there.
Okay, yes. Okay, I can see that window, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know about the window, but anyway. Well, we have come to the bottom of the hour,
Oh,
and so we have to take a quick commercial break at the moment. So
okay.
I'll let Todd take us away to our commercial break, and we'll be right back on the New Bridge Radio Show.
Looking for a holistic solution? Look no further than LimestreetWellness.com. Lime Street Wellness is a full-service Reiki therapy center offering in-person and distant Reiki sessions. Additionally, Lime Street Wellness is committed to helping clients co-create healthier outcomes with hypnosis, QHHT, and intuitive advice. Lime Street Wellness is committed to helping all that are seeking to co-create better health, peace of mind, and greater freedom. Reiki Master Kevin Mackey uses energy medicine, hypnosis, mindfulness, and intuitive guidance to assist in uncovering, understanding, and removing any blocks or energy cords or mental mindsets that may be intruding and causing needless suffering. Visit Lime Street Wellness today at LimestreetWellness.com. That's LimestreetWellness.com.
Welcome back to the New Bridge Radio Show on WLTK-DB. Let's talk. I am your host, Kevin Mackey, and we have an exciting show tonight. And we are talking with the Queen of Cups, Water Bendita, about
Hi.
Taza tea readings. And this has been one of the most fascinating reading shows I've ever done, because this method is, would you say, ancient or very, very old?
I would say so.
Yeah.
I mean, just the fact that when I opened the channel up and started reading, all these people came over and said, my grandmother used to read it. So from all over the world, for something to be all over the world, or similar things to be all over the world, I guess it must have been here a long time ago.
Exactly. You know what? What's interesting, speaking of your YouTube channel is extremely successful. What made you decide to start it?
Oh, thank you. I have so many questions for you too. I want to know how, I'll tell you about my channel, but I want to know how you were on one path. You were a professional, involved in, technology. And but what happened to you that you decided to do Reiki and be a healer and do readings?
It was, you know what? It was really a crazy thing. You know what happened is, it was at a time when there was a lot of people awakening. Oddly enough, it was a lot of people awakening in the tech industry, Cassandra. I have talked to more people who worked in Microsoft or Hewlett Packard, where I worked, or all over, that kind of had these sudden spiritual awakenings start happening. And I had been clairvoyant and clairaudient experience as a child, and then it kind of left, and then it came back towards me. And I was living in a house, and just in kind of almost in despair, because my life was just kind of a huge mess.
I'm sorry.
And I can almost remember exactly where I was on the road, where I kind of asked the universe for help. And oddly enough, I heard this British psychic on the radio called Kristen Dion. And I decided to call Kristen Dion and see if he could help me. And it kind of explained what was going on with me. And He's been on our network a couple of times, but he is just a no nonsense person. And he is the one that kind of helped me understand all of the spiritual stuff that was going on around me. And he said the most profound thing. And it's kind of funny now, but it wasn't really too funny back then. He said, "You know what, Kevin, I want you to stop being the fixer of your family." And he's like, just to give you some sort of idea, God couldn't fix these people. I don't know what makes you think you can. And it kind of jolted me. I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, you need to pack your stuff and get out of that house and move into your own place, and everything will be fine. He said there's a deeper, more spiritual path that's unfolding before you, is what he had said. And sure enough, he was right. I mean, after that all got sorted, that's when the Reiki, I found out about the Reiki, and the Reiki came in. And so that's when all the the weirdness really started happening. And I had all of these things that had to drop off in my life that the Reiki changed. It made me a much more compassionate person, a much more aware person of what happened.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So he was like the share to your Nicolas Cage in Moonstruck. He was like, snap out of it.
He really was. You know what? And Christian Dion does occasionally. He'll do well, he's been on a talk show, but occasionally he'll do radio shows, and he is super duper popular in the UK, right? So like, if they have him on the radio in the UK, he'll just bring down the phone lines. But he'll always tell people, he'll say, I'm not really known for my tact. And he will tell people, oh, well, like he told me, he's like, if you lose your partner, you're an idiot.
Oh, no.
He's just a kind of that way, just kind of bold.
Also, he probably needs the humor too and the boldness so that he doesn't get, just clobbered with the info.
Exactly. That is very perceptive, and I believe that too. I think that he uses it to kind of change people's energy, because people, when people laugh, or when people have a moment of levity, it really can change their soul and their spirit and bring them into the moment, really.
Yes.
And I love that about him. But that's what's great about being a reader, or being able to assist people on that kind of level, and give them information that can help them change their life. And now that I've been doing hypnosis, I'm kind of learning that everybody has access to their higher self, their higher knowledge, and they can certainly learn to eventually connect their own way to what's pertinent, and know their own path. And I like that about it. I like that it is that way, really.
This community is like, look at you, you're a reader and you're a healer, and you've invited me to your show to show my culture. I mean, that is very generous of you. Thank you.
Well, you are most welcome. And it is, so your channel is kind of I found out about Marie from a reader, from another psychic person called Cash Peters. And Cash Peters does a interesting
I love it. His drawings.
Yeah, he does. He had a situation in his life where all of a sudden he could see two sets of realities. He could see a clairvoyant reality and the normal reality, and all he had to do is just switch between the two.
Okay.
And he would draw, and he could draw pictures of what he sees in the clairvoyant view, which is so fascinating.
So it's like his tazas to me. His tazas are like a notebook. His notebooks.
Right. And it's funny though, in the beginning of his channel, what his drawings used to look like.
Little stick figures.
Yep, they were. Well, they're still stick figures, but,
Yeah, there's still.
but then, they were. There wasn't. He's since evolved into adding little, little details in them and making them, putting a little color
More
in them. So
picturesque.
yes.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating. And then he kind of so as I was going through my my own journey, I found a reader also on YouTube that's kind of part of the community, called Kirsten Langston.
Mm.
And
She's the
Kirsten
OG. She's the OG.
She really is. She kind of started, and I was, she has such a colorful. She has, colorful language. Like she swears so much. And I remember sitting there at work with my sister, and we were both so into her because she didn't come on at a regular time. She would just kind of show up on YouTube, and she'd start doing readings. And she'd be throwing down cards, and just every other word was, oh, this crazy MF, and we started getting really, my sister and I were like really almost addicted to
yeah, you depended on Kirsten.
Kirsten Langston coming on and making us all feel better by just being so bold and brazen and foul-mouthed. And my sister would go, "Oh, you know what? That really foul-mouthed psychic is on YouTube now." And we all sit down and watch it, and we were like, "Oh yeah,
She's
yeah, she is."
amazing. Yeah, she's great.
She is. She came on our show some time ago, and she is a great author. And now, looking at these people, is that kind of what inspired you to start your channel? To think, hey, I've got something great to offer.
Yeah, like Lena Rodriguez. It's like the first one. She's so clever. I
Mm.
love her wittiness, and she was just amazing. And then I discovered Kirsten, and then Linda G, and Marie. And Becca from House of Lenormand. She really encouraged me. Becca of House of Lenormand. She's also from the Caribbean, and her mom read the Taza. So I was about to give up because not a lot of people really knew what it was or respected or understood it. So I was like, I'm gonna give up. And I wrote her, and she answered me back. She said, "You better keep going. This is gonna be great." And so I started doing my things that have come to pass, because the tarot already has a great reputation, but the Taza is unknown. So when I started doing my things have come to pass, thanks to Becca, really, I started, people started realizing, wow, this is real. This is very accurate and real. And I met so many wonderful people. I met Ona of Ona's Tarot, Allie of Heart and Soul Connection, very nice lady. Very inspiring. Sheila from Celtic Tarot. Sheila, she's very generous to me as well. She brought me on, and Marie has always been my rock too.
Oh yeah,
Marie has been. I go to Marie. We talk a lot. We're good friends. So. Yeah, but they did inspire me. Absolutely. I always wanted people to know about the Taza, and I didn't know how to go about it. I remember, trying to tell people and getting dismissed, or, reading from my friends, but they didn't really take it seriously at first till like years later. Remember when you read that cup for me and you told me this, that happened? And then they started coming along again. And yeah, so basically I just wanted this not to die, this art, this divination tool not to die off. I didn't really see it in anywhere on the internet.
Exactly. And it is it is such a unique way to look into a situation and to read people and to give them advice that's going to calm them down, or make them see the forest for the trees, like Christian Dion did to me. Like, oh, guess what?
Exactly. Prepare you. And yeah.
Exactly. That is exactly right. And in my own readings, I love when I have the ability to do that. I love when people come in and I can kind of tell them what's going on in their life and say, oh, well, it looks like, this would be a better path for you. And that is pretty rewarding. But speaking about spiritual things, When I was thinking of having you on, there's a video you have on your channel called the Asomo.
Yes.
Can you kind of tell us what that is, the Asomo?
Yes. It's a long thing, but I'll try to be quick.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Asomo actually means like something that gets close to you or warning.
Mhm.
And it's a Spanish word. So asomo is something that happens to probably people that are clairvoyant, but not just people that are clairvoyant. I think it's a love thing. So when someone is still alive and they will be passing away, while they're still alive, they let you know that one way or the other.
Mhm.
And my first asomo, and when my family, my mom, and everyone knew that I had like real abilities, it was the week of my 7th birthday, and I have an older dad, and my dad had married before, and he had older children, and I had an older brother, and he was basically my dad because when I was born, my dad was in his 50s.
Mhm.
And my brother was a lot younger, so he was like my dad. Me and him were very close. And he was a man. He was already married, and I was 6 years old when he passed away. And that week that he passed away, I was set to meet him, and I waited for him at a diner. I remember in Manhattan, I waited for him, and I had a milkshake because the lady at the diner knew my brother, and she knew that every time we met there, I always had a chocolate milkshake, and she got it for me. And my brother never showed up to the day. And I was with my mom, and we waited for him. And that night, I went to bed, and I felt my brother. Everybody was sleeping, and in between sleep and wake, I saw his silhouette, and he put his hand over my mouth, and I couldn't breathe. And he was like trying to, I guess, tell me something, and he put his hand over my mouth. I couldn't breathe. I was shaking, and I thought I was going to die. And I finally said, "You know what? I can't. He's too strong." And I let go, and I thought, I'm dead. And as soon as I thought I let go, I accept my faith that I'm going to die, he lifted his hand up, and I saw his silhouette, and he stood over me, and then he left. And I screamed my brother's name. His name was Jose. Jose was here. Jose was here. Jose was here. And I'm screaming in the middle of the night, wake everyone up in my house. And I remember some of them scolded me. My mom was always very supportive. She paid attention. She didn't say anything. All the kids were scared. I had cousins sleeping over, and I had my aunt sleeping over, and a few other people. They were like, "No, he's not here. What are you talking about? That's insane. Your brother's not here. Your brother's not here. Go back to sleep." And I remember getting scolded at the next day. On that Sunday, a few days after that, on the Sunday, I remember being in the living room, and I remember a family member coming over to tell my mom that my brother was killed in a home invasion that same night that he did the Asomo to me. He was still alive when that happened. So that's what Asomo is. It's something that a lot of people don't believe, but it's an energy that when these people are going to be passing away, you come to their mind, because I think the energy is searching for someone that's open like you and me, or like the other sidekick, someone able to receive it. And they find that light. It's like being in a dark place, and there's one little light, and that's where you go, and that's where you do your Asomo. So that person, you're letting them know you're passing away.
Exactly. And when you were telling this story on your channel, I was like, so this happened to me. It used to happen a lot when I was young,
Mm-hmm.
but I was probably in my, I would say maybe late 20s. And I had just taken a meditation class in college. And I woke up at probably 2:30 in the morning, and there was a soldier standing in my room, a spirit person. And I could see the dog tags, but I couldn't see, the face or anything. But I knew that it was a spirit person, and that they belonged to the neighbor. I knew it kind of intuitively that they belonged to the neighbor, and they wanted to say something,
Before.
but I wasn't, I was like so, you know, not into it. I was like, I do not want anything to do with this. and I said, go away, go away. I am not doing this. Go away. Find someone else. And yeah, but I didn't have it's just a fearful thing that had happened. And when I saw your video, I was like, I wish I had the knowledge back then to understand what was actually happening.
Yeah.
And what was going on, because I probably would have been filled with so much fear, and I probably could have helped this person.
Yes, you have to help them.
And after I saw that video, I was like so guilty. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, wherever you are now.
They know. They helped you.
Yes.
They helped you. Maybe that was what they needed to do.
Yes, and
To
so
help you wake.
yes, and I got to tell you, this the beginning of 2023, well, the end of 2022 and 2023, has been such an intense period for me, dream-wise. Some of the dreams I am having are just off the scale, and
Yes.
a lot of times it's always water, and it's water in huge amounts. And sometimes it's or the other thing that is always coming up in dreams is people who I don't get along with, I'm suddenly getting along with. And I'm like, "Oh, I don't understand this unit." So
What's the water? What's the water? What happens? You say there's a lot of water, like you're in the ocean in the middle of the water?
Yeah, so what's happening is, a lot of times in these dreams, I'm standing someplace and all of a sudden, oh, there's water. And then before you know it, I'm surrounded by water. And I'm just like, what is up with all the water?
That's an underlying depression. I remember when my dad passed away, I kept dreaming that I was in the middle of the ocean and the waves were overwhelming me. And the waves, at one point, I was like in a little raft. A giant wave came over and knocked me under and I was drowning. And my aunt came as a giant in the ocean, as like a giant person, like almost like a Disney movie. And she picked me up from the water and brought me out. And I remember when my dad passed away, I went to her house to heal, and she let me stay there a couple of months with her.
Oh,
and I was a
wow.
teenager, and she helped me get out of that depression.
Nice. That's very insightful. That could be exactly what's going on. But I have found like the beginning of this, like something definitely happened. An energy shift probably took place on this happened on September 27th. And the weird thing is, I was a part of Jamie Butler's, the medium Jamie Butler's mentorship group, and there's 7 of us, and I felt like I was I'm looking around this meeting room. I'm like, hey, did anybody else feel a really weird energy shift on the 27th of September? Like something happened to my Reiki. I was like, all of a sudden it was more intense. I was like, am I the only one? Evidently you are the only one, Kevin.
Well, probably those water dreams is just, you're going to learn to deal with the depression of just being on Earth is kind of depressing sometimes because of everything that's going on. But it's a gift. It's a beautiful gift. And the fact that you're dreaming with people that you don't get along, that in itself is depressing. You want to get along with everyone, and if you let people that are mean or mean-spirited, they can depress you. And I think the water represents your energy, your strength. If that water can either depress you or it can lift you out and cleanse you out. So you have to choose which one. Let that water cleanse you and lift you up, or let it drown you and kill you.
Yep, that is very insightful, because that is exactly. I like. Oh well, this is going to be one of those years. This could be an emotional time.
It is.
But you know what? This hour has gone by so quickly.
It's gone by already.
Yep. It's so we have lots of amazing shows on Fridays. And so we have another show now, but just so people know where to find you, they can find you on YouTube.
Yes.
If they search Queen of Cups Water Bendita,
Thank
they
you.
can
Yes.
find.
Yes.
And you have got so many great videos on there that people can take a look at.
Thank you, Kevin and Todd as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming and being our guest. This has been an amazing hour. I'm so glad we got to talk about the Taza, and now people know what it is, and they can actually take a look at some of your videos and see how wonderful a reading this is.
Kevin, you said, did you write a book?
Well, I have not written a published book.
Okay. Because I'm so dying to know all the details about your awakening.
Yep. That might be coming. You might be surprised. Well, that's going to do it for us on the New Bridge Radio Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. And
thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on our show. That's going to do it for now. Check back with us next week as we connect you to what's next in your life.
Bye.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.